Greetings everyone. Just a few words to introduce the forthcoming online course we are offering under the title Yoga of Integrity. Whilst yoga speaks to the universal path to self-realization and doesn't really need introduction, it seems to us that the efforts to restore and rehabilitate the philosophy into what it actually is, as opposed to what it often being turned into, is a continuous effort on the part of many yoga enthusiasts. In this course, we are addressing the fundamental principles without which self-realization is a much more questionable affair. What we're going to speak to is that health of the psychological climate which is required for any spiritual practice to bear fruit. So therefore, the notion that somehow all of us are already entitled to this work and all of us essentially carry that birthright within remains to be true. However, if we are not fully aware of some of these fundamental principles that govern spiritual unfoldment, then we might spend that much more time in trying to go through this in what is known as DIY fashion, and in our experience, this always brings unwanted, unnecessary delay and unwanted, unnecessary obstruction on the path. So whilst this course is tailored to all those who are serious about their spiritual advancement, it aims to address these principles in such a way so that they are accessible within the field of each and every one of us. So in other words, we're not talking about some abstract principles independent or outside of the domain of our psyche. But what we're instead going to speak to is the very, very inner core of who we are. Now, whilst this is also rooted in understanding that goodness is our nature, that our essence essentially is benevolent. We all came here and we all carry here a lot of information in our field. And some of this information is not processed, or processed not to the degree which is conducive for enjoying this life to its fullness. Enjoying here is spoken strictly in yogic terms. Enjoying it here means being detached from the very source of what we find as the support for our enjoyment, because the enjoyment is coming from within. Yet that birth-giving right to freedom, birth-giving right to self-realization needs to have solid foundation. And this course is tailored precisely to those who are willing to delve into this fully. So, in a nutshell, course is structured around the three pillars of, if you will, light, and the first being rooted in the classical Patanjali yoga. In other words, what is more or less agreed by majority of scholars is a 2,000-year-old tradition summarized by Yogi Patanjali. And the Patanjali Sutras, though the most concise of all yogic texts, speaks to the aspects which, unless we delve into them and uncode them and bring them out into the light, may remain, as it were, undeciphered and left to our guessing. So we will speak to these classical yogic principles, from non-harming to truthfulness, to non-covetedness, to non-attachment, and so forth, known to most yoga enthusiasts. However, we'll make and bring the emphasis to some of these lesser known, lesser explored, and because of that, as a result, often overlooked aspects of yogic philosophy. So that second principle here will be spoken from the perspective of lesser known aspects, where we will delve into the concept such as spiritual ardor, known as tapas. We will speak to the concept of sacrifice and what it really represents in yogic vocabulary. We will also address these principles of non-attachment to one's actions from the perspective of what yoga clearly defined as freedom from the binding influences of actions. Now, in addition to that, we will speak to this very, very slippery, if you will, slope, understood to be morality. And we will distinguish spiritual integrity from the conventional morality, so as to have a clearer understanding of what it is represents in terms of spiritual unfoldment, so as we don't get caught in this, what otherwise maybe very well serves us in solidifying these worldly concepts, but does not contribute to the internal freedom, or the freedom from that what essentially simply known as misperception. Now, to conclude, we will speak about the, again, a taboo perhaps, even in spiritual circles, what contemplation on death really represents, what death here exemplifies in yogic terms, and how this is indispensable aspect of all spiritual unfoldments. Contemplation on the immortality of our soul, whilst fully acknowledging the transitory nature of this embodiment. And the course will culminate in personal insights gained from years of working with various spiritual seekers of truth who came from various walks of life, and this will give us plenty of case studies which will support this inquiry and bringing these concepts to life. So everyone is welcome. This course is not limited to the enthusiasts of yoga, and I will have the audacity to say that this course is really would be beneficial for all professionals in the field, including psychologists, therapists, aspirants of yoga, as well as instructors and teachers of yoga, and all facilitators who deal with the aspects of the psyche to whatever degree, because this is going to be addressing the very psychology behind spiritual practice itself. So, Namaste and Om Namah Shivaya.